Welcome back to the Gospel Sports Truths podcast. I hope you guys have had a great week. I'm having a great week because there are all kinds of sports to enjoy this week, and we'll have that for the next few weeks. So, this is the most wonderful time of the year as far as I'm concerned. I am your host, Zay, the fantasy football fiend himself. And as always, my guy, BK wins. How did the people, BK?
Hey, y'all.
Make sure that you are following us on YouTube at the Gospel STP. You can follow us on Facebook at the Gospel Sports Truth Facebook group. And if you need to get any information to us, you can get info to us at the Gospel STP at gmail.com. So let's go right ahead and hop into it. What's the good word of the week, BK?
Well, we always start out with the NFL, Zay. And so my question to you is, there's a few teams that are really struggling, a few that I'm not even going to ask in this question, but how would you fix the Giants, the Jets, and the Jags? Those are three teams that are really struggling. How would you fix those?
So to start out with the Giants, if they can fix their O line, they would fix a lot of the issues that they have. I'm not sure if they need a new head coach or if they need a new quarterback or if they need another running back because none of those positions can work at their full capacity without having at least 2 seconds to get their mind right when the play starts. So right now, I think their biggest area of opportunity is on the O line. They've already taken care of wide receiver. And believe it or not, Daniel Jones right now, 6 touchdowns to 1 interception. So even with a bad O line, he's been making it shake. So I got to say, their glaring need right now is offensive line, and everything else might be able to kind of fall into place. With the Jets, they've already started the overhaul. Obviously, they let Robert Saleh go. This change won't happen, but if they could get rid of the owner, this is definitely one of the franchises I would say that they need to be changed from the top down. Definitely the OC who has been demoted, but he's still one of the offensive minds on the team. I highly doubt his backup is going to be much better than him. Pretty much everybody in a position of power, including the quarterback, needs to be changed for this squad. Is how I'm feeling. They have wide receivers, they have running backs, they have a pretty good defense. Uh, they have a much improved offensive line. Aaron Rodgers isn't what, humble opinion, isn't what he thinks he is, and what a lot of people think that he may be. I just don't see it. Um, the Jaguars, Doug Peterson is gone. I would say they probably need one more wide receiver. Gabe Davis doesn't do it for me. Christian Kirk is good. Um, the rookie out of LSU, he's showing himself to be worth his salt. I honestly have to say you might want to go ahead and trade Travis Etienne before you can't get anything for him because Tank Bigsby is already showing that he can hold the load. He can do the short work, goal line, break one for 20, 30 yards. I don't know that you just don't back him up with someone else that you're paying a lot less money and kick the can on down the road as far as Travis Etienne is concerned. But that's how I would go about fixing those three teams. What do you have?
So with the Jets, I love that answer because, the whole thing from the top down is a problem. Ownership is terrible. The front office is terrible. The head coach was not very good. The offensive coordinator was even worse than the head coach. And the other thing is, for me, And those are the most pressing things. But to your point about the quarterback, Aaron Rodgers has won 2 playoff games since 2017. And I said this on our show on Tuesday, that on the weekend recap, that is it's unsustainable, nor should you ever want to throw the ball 54 times in a game. Like, Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. I wouldn't want him throwing the ball 54 times, because what that means is in 4 weeks with these big, fast, tough guys, you're going to get yourself hurt. You're like, you're going to. With the Giants, for them, I don't like their head coach. I don't like the quarterback at all. You know me about that. I'm not a Daniel Jones fan at all. I think they need to get better on defense. They need to get better on the offensive line, like you mentioned. They need more edge rushing, and they need an offensive line. But the other thing is, for the Jags, head coach, see ya, Peterson, and Sunshine needs to be traded. Like, Trevor Lawrence has not been. He's not the answer. We've seen more than enough body of work to know that this guy isn't the guy.
But who do you put in his place? Like I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that in many cases, if you go the rookie route, they don't pan out to be much of anything at all. And there aren't very many elder statesmen that are going to be available to you. So if you do trade them, you're trading them to do what?
Well, I think at this point, it's about, for me, I look at it like this. We know that you win and lose games in the NFL in the trenches, right? That's the most important thing. But outside of the trenches, the most important thing is your head coach and quarterback. So, you know, he just won his first game in over 300 days. Like, I mean, and again, I wouldn't be so against this if you didn't unnecessarily give a guy an extension that didn't deserve it. So
That's the other thing. Like, you know more about this than I do. If they trade him, does the other team just take on the salary, or is there still some type of a dead cap involved with the trade?
Well, what they can do to help facilitate a trade is they may eat some of that money to make it more cap friendly and attractive for a team to take him. Versus I'll just use a team, right? Versus the Panthers trading for him and having to eat that money. They might not get as good draft picks or players in return for Lawrence because, or they might get more money, better prospects because they're willing to eat some of that money, right? But I think that would be part of the equation, is they would have to pay some of that money to move him. I don't think the product on the field is going to get much back. But I also know that I've seen enough to know that he's not it. And if he's not it, I would suck this season, get a high draft pick. They're likely going to draft in the top 5. And they're going to be able to get a quarterback, a franchise quarterback. And yes, it will take time. But if he's not the answer, then what are we doing?
I would love to see Sean McVay kind of retool Trevor Lawrence. Matthew Stafford is walking out the door. I think that could work out for all parties involved. I don't know that Trevor has been given the best of situations. And of course, he wasn't going to get the best of situations going to the Jaguars, but we'll have to see. What we got up next?
So last week, there were a lot of upsets in college football. We typically see this in October. I like to call it the October chaos starts, and it was in full-fledged. So my question to you this week is, in light of that, as an encore, what do you think the biggest upset will be this weekend?
Okay, this is just a qualm, if you will, complete shot in the dark. But you know how Penn State tends to lose a game that they shouldn't have lost? I think USC over Penn State might be the biggest upset of the week. That I just feel something about that game being a little bit tighter than people think it may be, and USC pulling it out in the end. And again, that's one of those, how would I say, unlikely to happen, but it could happen type situations. But that would be my biggest upset for this coming weekend.
And I can see that for a few reasons, right? There's a lot of things going in your favor. Penn State, despite being undefeated, they've had a lot of close calls where games have either been tight late or for a half they've not looked very good and the games are tight in the third quarter before they pull away. Southern Cal's back home. It's a big game. And remember, you and I have talked about this a lot, that the time zone thing, right? Only two teams, I think, have won when there's more than a two time zone travel. The one was Indiana beat UCLA on the road by almost 30, and we know how bad UCLA is. And the other one was Miami, the ACC after dark, where they had to come back from 20 down in the fourth quarter to win by 1. Like, those are the only two. So that makes a lot of sense. And the other thing I like about this is, and you say this all the time, you very much, when you do this, are very much a gut person. I always seek out the Vegas part, right? So for me, I'm going to continue. It wasn't listed as a bet last week, but I had on my own personal accounts, I had Vandy plus the 23 over Bama, just because it's a classic letdown, right? I thought Bama was going to win, make no mistake. I thought they'd win by probably a couple touchdowns. I didn't think they were going to win by 4 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns and a field goal. So I think that was the thing there. This week, we're going right back to the doors. Somehow, and I know Kentucky's defense is really good, but help me explain to me how Vandy, depending on where you look, is getting 13.5 or 14 at Kentucky. Mind you, that Vandy took a previously undefeated Missouri team to double overtime on the road. Like, it's not like Vandy just showed up for one game this year. Like, they've consistently played good football. Their only loss that would make you shake your head was they lost by 4 against Georgia State. Okay, yeah. That's one that you got to scratch your head. But why would you think Kentucky's capable with that offense of beating anybody by 2 touchdowns?
Makes sense. Definitely makes sense.
So you're on the Trojans. I'm on the Commodores. We'll see how it goes. I think I know this sounds biased, but I think they both make a lot of sense. So we'll see what happens Saturday.
Absolutely. So MLB playoffs in full effect. We have a few games that have already concluded, a few series that are tight, a few series that are all but over. What is your current reaction to where we are right now in the MLB playoff race?
Yeah, so for those who haven't watched any of the playoffs, just a quick little update, right? So tonight, right now, Game 4 is going on between the Yankees and the Royals. The Yankees squeaked by 3-2 last night. They're up 2-1. They got their ace on the bump tonight to try to close it out. The Mets, they upset the Phillies. They were able to win 3-1. Lindor's grand slam rocked that stadium last night. The Mets are awaiting the winner of the Padres and the Dodgers, who have a winner go home tomorrow, 2-2. Those division rivals are, I mean, that's been a heck of a series with all that talent. So, and then in the other one, the Guardians, after easily winning game one, got shut out the last two. And so the Tigers were trailing in the ninth tonight, the last I saw, but we're down 2 games. The Tigers were up 2-1 over Cleveland. So I think for me, and I'll go into a lot more detail later about both of these things, but I'm curious about how much having the bye hurts the momentum and the rhythm of teams. While it's great to get rest for your starting pitching and all of your pitching, all of your best, you set your rotation and your best arms are available. But do you know, pending the Dodgers Padres series, since they switched formats where the top 2 seeds had a bye, the NL hasn't had a division winner that's had a bye advance yet. And that goes back 2 years now, 2+ years. So the bye has clearly been a problem. But I'm really excited to see the Dodgers Padres game 5. It's looking like we're going to see a Guardians Tigers game 5. So Scooble's going to come to Cleveland, a chance to advance the Tigers. They haven't advanced the ALCS since 13. And of course, I mean, look, we're fans at the end of the day. I want to see the Yankees and the Guardians in a collision course. Why? They're my 2 favorite teams. So,
it's what you call a win-win situation.
Right. So I guess the other thing I'll say is I'm really surprised coming into game 4 for both the Guardians and the Yankees tonight. I'm very surprised about how superstars Judge and Jose Ramirez have struggled this postseason. And it's not just this postseason, it's been a lot of postseasons. And so those would be my takeaways is your stars have to play like stars. What's your biggest reaction?
I 100% agree. I don't know that the Yankees have enough fire to advance without their biggest superstar kind of leading the way, if you will. The Yankees have depended on Judge pretty much the entire year. If you remember, more than a few shows back now, but when we were right around All-Star break, we were talking about the little bit of a slump that they were in, or the slump that he was in, which then in turn caused the Yankees to have a bit of a slump. And I was saying, hey, maybe you give him a break. You let him kind of, get those good vibes going, or, rest whatever may be ailing him, because we're going to need him in the playoffs. And without his bat, I don't know that the other guys that are coming up to the plate can make up for what he brings to the table, if that makes sense. So I can definitely see, honestly, if Judge nor Ramirez step up, I can see them both letting their respective teams down, and someone else is going to have to fill in the gap, if you will, in order for those letdowns not to overall destroy the team's chances for a championship this year.
No, agreed. So the last part of our good word for the week. What are your reactions now that we finally have reached the WNBA finals? The Liberty took care of the Aces. The Lynx won a winner go home game 5. So we have a Liberty Lynx final. How do you see that going?
I want the Lynx to win, but I don't necessarily see the path to that win going up against the Liberty. The Liberty They're well rounded. They have good defense. They have good offense. They don't necessarily have to depend on one single player to be the end all be all. On the other end, the Lynx has really good offense, but if Fee isn't hitting her shot, good luck to the Lynx. So, which is not to say that she can't be on in several of these games. She has the postseason high right now of any player at 42 points. But I don't see them being able to withstand the onslaught that the Liberty can bring at any point in time. I'm going for the underdogs, who I feel the Lynx happen to be. But if the Liberty were able to nullify the MVP, I don't necessarily know that they couldn't do the same thing to respectfully a lesser player. So I gotta, my betting mind, my sports mind, not my heart, says that the Liberty is going to bring it home and the Lynx may win one game. That's where my head is right now.
Well, I will have a little more to say on that a little bit later in the show. So we
Okay.
will we'll stay tuned.
Little tease there.
Yes.
I got a
So
feeling something's going to be coming up in BK's best bets. We shall see.
we shall indeed. So that wraps up our good word of the word now to a very popular segment, our truth and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and start us off, Zay.
All right. First up, NFL coaches on the hot seat. I believe I had 4 coaches on the hot seat, and I saw the coaches that you had there. The 2 that I didn't have. Well, let me just tell you who I do have first. Doug Peterson of the Jags, Nick Sirianni of Philly, Mike McCarthy, Dallas Cowboys, and Dennis Allen of the New Orleans Saints. So those are the 4 guys that immediately came to mind. And then I saw your list, and I was like, okay, I can see Antonio Pierce, but I don't necessarily see Zach Taylor. It could happen, but he's gotten the Bengals to higher heights than they've seen in a while. So I don't know that they wouldn't give him another shot, especially with all the injuries and things of that nature, the distractions with the holdouts and all that kind of good stuff. Dave Canales is another guy that you had out there. I don't. In the note that you put there, I love. I'll let you relay that, but yeah, spot on there. Um, Doug Peterson, you've been given your opportunity. What you are, how would I say, what you should have been able to do hasn't been done. So it's time for somebody else to get a shot at it. As far as Nick Sirianni is concerned, I'm surprised that he actually lasted to this year. Same thing with Mike McCarthy. If Washington wins that division, both of them gotta go. Gotta go. You successfully allowed the door and the window to be nailed, sealed, tied up, tangled up, nailed shut when you had years to get it together. Gotta go. And with Dennis Allen, you were gifted a head coaching opportunity, honestly. And you haven't done very much with it. You started out hot for the first couple of games, but that really wasn't you. That was Kubiak. It was the offense that was turning heads, not necessarily your side of the ball, which you're a defensive specialist. So those are the guys that initially came to mind when thinking about coaches on the hot seat are coaches that should be on the hot seat. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, so I would have guessed that, and I realized Salah was the first one to go. I would have thought he would have been the second one to go behind Peterson. In fact, if Peterson and the Jags didn't win last week, I don't think that he would have survived that weekend. But they did win, so he bought himself probably another week or two, I'm going to guess. But Peterson, Dennis Allen is 26-49 as a head coach. Like,
Wow.
I'd bury Salah for 20-36. This Allen's even worse. And now that he lost his starting quarterback for an indefinite amount of time, good luck with that. So McCarthy, the only thing that saves McCarthy is he's exactly the coach that Jerry Jones wants. McCarthy does whatever he wants, doesn't say a word. He's the absolute yes man, and Jerry Jones wants to be the attention. He wants all the attention, and he wants his coach to not get any credit or say a word. And so McCarthy does exactly that, which is why he stuck around. Plus, Cowboys fan, I'm sorry about this because I know you don't want to hear it, but I think they're quietly in rebuilding mode. You watch the Eagles spend a lot of money in the offseason. The Cowboys didn't. Their big move was getting Ezekiel Elliott back. Like they're not really doing, and I know they re-signed Lamb and all that stuff. I'm not saying, but they're not really doing anything of consequence in free agency or trying to make that team better. It just screams to me that, yeah, they paid Dak and they paid Lamb, but Dak doesn't win playoff games anyway. So, I mean, that's great he gets paid, but good luck. Sirianni, I can't believe after the epic collapse last year that he was able to retain his job. I think only because the Super Bowl win that's so recent saved him, but he's lost that team. Him and Hurts and that team, they don't get it. It's well documented. It's a problem. He messed up a couple games early in the year with some game management decisions. He's feeling the pressure, and consequently, he's cracking. He's just making some really bad mistakes. And then the other two, right? Well, the other three. Antonio Pierce, the Raiders are bad. They're bad. It doesn't matter who their quarterback is at this point. They're bad. So, is it all of his fault? No. Is it even half of his fault? No. But you're the captain of a sinking ship. Like, you're good. They can't fire 53 players, so you're the guy who's going to go fair or unfair. There it is. And as far as the other two, I'll save Zach Taylor for last. But as far as, Dave Canales of Carolina, and I know everyone out there, you got the congregation, your stuff. So you're going to say, BK, why would your take be that he'd get fired? Well, have you forgotten the owner? Like, Tepper's willing to fire anybody, anytime, for any day. Like,
Tepper.
I call it getting teppered. Like, that literally should be a phrase. Should shirts be there? I just got teppered because there's no way a guy five games into his first coaching job in his first year should even be considered to get fired. But honestly, with Tepper, all bets are off. Yeah. So the reasonable person would let him stay a year or two, but Tepper's not reasonable, so stay tuned. The last one, the one that I think you and I have a little disagreement on, is the Zach Taylor thing. Here's why I feel that way. The Bengals are struggling. They're 1-4. Their only win was against an awful Carolina team. And yes, their defense hasn't played great. And yes, Burrow is coming back from an injury, and so he didn't play in the preseason. And yes, they have distractions of contract disputes. And yes, they play in a tough division with, the Ravens and the Steelers. And their schedule has been honestly pretty reasonable. They did play Kansas City and they just played Baltimore, but they had Baltimore dead to rights in what was a great game. But you can't lose to Washington and expect or to New England and expect to make the playoffs. So they shouldn't be in the situation. And I put losing New England the first game and how they played against Washington. I do put that a little bit on coaching. I do think coaching plays a role. Was it the whole story? No, but they have expectations with that team. 1-4 is not going to get it done. And here's the thing: they've only played one division game. They're 1-4. They still got a return game against the Ravens on the road. They still got the Steelers twice. And playing the Browns in Cleveland, regardless of what they look like on offense, is no picnic. And we know that the Bengals don't beat the Browns. So I'm just concerned it's going to be a long year. And do I think he'll make this year? Yes. Do I think, for me, the hot seat is all these other guys could go this year, but next year he better win or that's it.
Not mad at that. Not mad at that. I think this year's a mulligan because his best players didn't have a preseason. The running game is brand new. Burrow didn't play much at all last year. He couldn't throw the ball to the guys he was throwing the ball to during the season, in the offseason, because they were throwing a tantrum about their contract. So it's kind of hard to coach someone up that isn't there. You can't duplicate Jamar Chase or T. Higgins with any of the other guys that are there. The offensive and defensive lines have both regressed a little bit, but I can see this being a year where maybe the GM falls on the sword instead of the head coach, but the head coach is replaced by the new GM next year if he doesn't get it together. So, but that's kind of where I am on that. Now, this one, the answer is short and sweet for me. I'm interested to see what you're going to say. Will we ever again see an NFL team with a perfect season?
No.
Okay.
And the reason why is this, right? It hasn't been done since the 72 Dolphins. They still celebrate every year when the last team that is undefeated loses. So they haven't quite popped that champagne yet. But, we know, and this one will hit home for you for sure. If ever I was going to see it, it would have been your 2007 Patriots. I mean, they were huge favorites in every game. They covered a lot of them, most of them. And they were literally a Super Bowl away, literally a quarter away from completing the perfect season. That team was well coached, had the GOAT at quarterback, and they were loaded on defense. And I can't envision a team as complete as they were. If they can't do it, I just can't see a situation where you're going to get all of that to happen, especially now that you have all these teams that take the preseason off. So your first month is glorified preseason that's now counts. I think you might see a 15-2 team. You might see even a 16-1 team that loses halfway through the year. But you're not going to see a 12, 13-0 team, or for sure a team that runs the table. Just no.
Agreed. I'm on the same page. Couple of reasons. There are too many quality teams that aren't even necessarily winning teams. There's some teams that are good that don't even make the playoffs. So between that in Vegas, I don't see it happening. Humble opinion. If the Chiefs would be the most likely to do it, and it would have to be, I would probably say next year, year after next, before a bunch of people start getting paid and they're kind of stacked in several positions. But the thing about that is, if you look at, well, honestly, if it were going to happen, it'd be in the next year or two, because there's some teams that are rebuilding in the AFC, and Kansas City started their rebuild en route to a Super Bowl. Go figure. But a lot of their younger guys aren't getting paid yet. And Patrick Mahomes, in the epic deal that he got, he actually took a pay cut in comparison to what most quarterbacks are getting now. They're going to have some cap space. They're going to be good on both defense and offense. And they may just have the best coach in the NFL right now. So if it could happen for anyone, it would be that team. But I don't even see that team doing it. And if they can't get it done, I don't see anyone else even close to getting it done anytime soon.
I agree. Yeah, well
Number
said.
3, for our truth and nothing but the truth. And you kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but does the extra time off hurt MLB division winners in the playoffs?
So I normally don't do this, but as you saw in what I sent you, I have a long-winded thing here that I can't memorize. So I'm going to read part of it, but I'll give you the short of it too, right? So I think it very much hurts teams with a couple of exceptions. So for one, here's the exception piece. It does allow you to, what I said earlier, it allows you to set your rotation, which is really important. You're pitching your best pitchers the most, and your bullpen is well rested. So from that aspect, it's great. But hitting is all about timing and rhythm, and hitting in live pitching or practice or in batting cages is not the same as playing in a game. And the problem I have with it is during a 162 game season outside of the All-Star game, teams aren't taking 5 days off ever. You're not even seeing teams take 2 days off. So to have 5 off, I think it messes up the rhythm. You're sitting around and waiting for that to happen. Now, the other part where there's an exception is it's a small sample size, right? This format just started 2 years ago in 2022. So it's not like this is 10 years of data. It's literally 2+ years. This is the 3rd year of it. But here's a little did you know. In 2023, 3 of the 4 bye teams lost their first series. And the NL, including this year, hasn't seen any bye team advance. The only team that still has a chance is the Dodgers if they can win Game 5 at home. But outside of that, they'll be 0 for 3 years if the Dodgers don't save them. So now but have we already forgotten? I don't like saying this team name. Sorry, guys, but here it is. Have we forgotten about the Astros? The Astros in 2022 had a bye. They had 5 days off. They swept the ALDS. They swept the ALCS. They were 7-0 heading to the World Series, and they won in 6 games. They went 11-2 en route to that World Series. It clearly didn't mess them up. So, but all that to say, me personally, if I'm the commissioner, I would go back to the old school 3 division winners and a wild card. I know it stops the momentum of, or the keeps fan interest of, for example, the Tigers and Royals still playing, right? But regardless of the recency bias of those teams, I think we'll all agree that the Tigers and Royals aren't playoff teams. They have no business being in the playoffs. The Royals in the last 6 weeks had 2 7-game losing streaks. The Tigers at the trade deadline literally traded 2 of their best players away. Yeah. 2 of their 3 best players got traded. So does that sound like a team that thought they were a contender? So, or even a playoff team? I say that to say that they need to go back to 4 teams in each league making the playoffs. That's what I would do. That way there's no advantage. You're not sitting around for a week. I think it's the best thing to do. It also gives it doesn't it ensures the integrity of and preserves that the 162 games actually mean something.
My thing is this, and I'll make this short and sweet. If you look at any sport, unless injured, time off rarely helps anyone. You normally come out stale, whether it's for a half or for a first quarter in football or for the first game in basketball, whatever the case may be. You normally come out and you see a bye week hangover, if you will, and the team that didn't get the bye is already in a groove, in rhythm, ready to rock. We're doing the same thing that we did the last game or did yesterday in some cases. The other side to it is this: you'll see the team that went into it without the bye, in some cases, kind of start to get a little bit more, I guess, tired or fatigued on the back end of the series. But with baseball, because of the nature of the sport itself, you don't have the same level of fatigue as you would with a basketball series. And with football, it's a one and done tournament. So if you're not engaged off top, the other team automatically has an advantage because they don't have to beat the better team several times, just the one time. So baseball is its own animal. I'll put it that way. So,
Yeah.
but there aren't very many sports, even if we're looking at hockey or whatever the case may be, there aren't very many sports where the team that was on bye comes out firing on all cylinders, and it's the opposite for the team that wasn't on bye. So, kind of leave it at that. Another segment that we absolutely love to peel back the layers, our top 5 all time of something. This week, our top 5 people we wish we could meet. And BK, I'm a habitual line stepper. You didn't give me any rules for this. So some of the people that are on my list aren't even here anymore. So I took the liberty to go that route because you didn't say I couldn't. And I wasn't going to ask because then you turned around and said, no, they have to be alive. Then half of my list would be gone. So
No,
I
that's
figured I'd let you know during the show.
no that's absolutely fair. And I did that intentionally, but no, I think that's great. So before I get into my number 5, I'm going to give a disclaimer. And I will tell you that both of these are not on the list because I've already met them. Most of you would think that I would have MJ and LeBron on my list. But I've already met Jordan and LeBron, so there would be no reason for me to include people I've already met. So I just need to throw that out there. That being said, number 5, Taylor Swift.
You could have given me 1,000 guesses. I would have never thought that Taylor Swift would be on your list.
Here's why. The thing I love about Taylor Swift is a little backstory here. I think I told this a little bit in the past, but for those of you who did not join the bandwagon back then, I'll let you ride on the train now. Growing up around so many professional athletes where I did in Cleveland, I'm used to being around celebrities. It's not something that is intimidating or awe-inspiring or anything to me. But what I really find fascinating about Taylor is she's in a situation where she has a huge, huge, huge worldwide fan base. But when you're that big, people are going to criticize you and say negative things. And, her music is all about, relationships that didn't quite work how she had hoped, right? And so that opens you up to criticism and things like that. And I really respect the fact that she does a lot of good humanitarian wise, but she also stands her ground. I respect somebody who, in the face of criticism, doesn't change who they are. And I think that says a lot about her. And to be honest with you, I think she has a lot of great music. So for that reason, I would love to hear her story. I put her number 5. How about you?
Number 5 for me is a Mike Tyson.
Hmm.
I just feel like that would be one of the most memorable evenings, whether it's him telling stories or uh, going out or whatever would end up happening. I just feel like it would be a very memorable occasion, if you will. So my number 5 is Mike Tyson. Who you got for number 4?
I just have to give you some advice. Just don't get too close to him that he bites your ear off.
I wouldn't be swinging on him, so we wouldn't have to worry about it.
Fair enough. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to look out for you, buddy. Number 4, the current captain, Aaron Judge.
I can see it.
It's no mystery that the Yankees are my favorite team. He's the best player on my favorite team. I've been to plenty of Yankee games. Never had the chance to meet him. I would love to meet Aaron Judge. How about you? Who's your 4?
Number 4, for my money, the best musician that I know, the best showman that I know, Prince. I would love to meet Prince. I would love to hear some of the stories from back in the day. Like he's just, as far as musicality is concerned, I don't feel that there's anyone above him. The man was a musical genius and an all-star basketball player wrapped up into one. Like two of my favorite things, music and sports. Like either direction, we can have a conversation all night. So I got to go with Prince at number 4. Who you got for your number 3?
He's larger than life for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. My number 3, we're going to go right back to the Yankees. Another captain, Derek Jeter. I would be willing to literally sit there all weekend and listen to the stories that he would tell. And my 2 favorite things about Jeter: he was a class act that was never in the headlines for the wrong reasons. He handled the pressure there amazing. But the other thing, he's a winner. And I say this all the time in sports that I play that are nowhere near as important as what he's accomplished. But I say this all the time. Winning is hard. Until you've really had to play a tournament or win something of consequence, you don't appreciate how hard winning is. And he sure made it look easy, and he sure did it a lot. So he's my number 3. Who you got?
Number 3 for me, President Barack Obama. I would absolutely love to hear him tell of the difficulties and the hardships that we would have never known about in his journey. Um, the family man that he is, the man that he is. I would love to kind of just be able to sit there and kind of hear his advice and just kind of, you normally don't say that you'd like to have a beer with someone of that caliber, but he just seems like whether you're kicking back and having a brew or your whatever your favorite beverage may be, or if you're coming up with a policy to ensure the safety of the world, he's going to be just as cool, calm, and collected in either environment. So that I admire, being able to kind of operate on all cylinders under all conditions. So he would be another guy that would be on my list. Who you got?
You know me, Zay. I'm a huge March Madness guy. So, like, he loves his basketball. Every year he did his bracket, he would spend, like, more time than any president I can ever remember breaking down their bracket. And, like, he really knew his stuff. So I would love to just have a conversation, even just about that. Like, just to hear, like, he'd be really easy and chill to talk to about that for sure. So I can see that. Number 2 for me, you'll love this one. It's definitely Zay approved. The football quarterback GOAT, Tom Brady. And if you notice, there's a pattern in, depending on their career paths, what they're doing, these guys are winners. Yeah. And Brady in a team sport was the ultimate winner.
Agreed.
7 Super Bowl titles. I think he made the AFC title game 13 times in 15 years, or maybe it was 15 out of 17. But that's it. That's in a salary cap era, in a team sport. That's crazy. It is crazy. So, and one of the years he was out for the whole year with an injury. So it's almost like, but yeah, Tom Brady, to hear him, his greatness and his intelligence break down football and all the stories he would tell, I would love it.
My number 2 is Muhammad Ali. Another guy that would have 1,001 stories to tell. Another guy that was able to fulfill greatness on a number of levels and was able to overcome astounding odds, always believed in himself above all. Muhammad Ali, my number 2. Who you got a number 1?
My number 1, a sport that we rarely talk about on this show. Tiger Woods.
Okay.
What I love and respect about Tiger, first of all, there's a theme. I think he's proven he's had some success and won just a little bit. I think he's the greatest closer in sports.
Okay.
And at one point when he had the lead after 3 rounds, I think he was like 54-2. Like, that's crazy. Like, but not only do I would love to hear about how hard he worked and the dedication and the time he put in and how dominant he was, but I love the person he's become, especially in fatherhood, where he would never engage with the fans back in the day when he was on his dominant run. He was so laser focused. He was all about win, 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 win. But, after the accident, it's amazing when you lose something you love and you're not sure you'll ever get to do it again. It changes your perspective.
Yeah.
And between that and fatherhood, it's really made him, I think, a greatest person. Yes, I know he had some off the field stuff or whatever, but people make mistakes. We all make mistakes. His happened to be in the spotlight.
Right.
But I give him credit for changing how he is in his interaction and Think about all the PGA players who go out of their way to thank him for all that he's done for them in the game.
Absolutely.
Who your number one?
A lot of the sentiments that you have for Tiger Woods, I have for my favorite athlete all time, Kobe Bryant. The when literally the way you think has been titled and used around the world. Who has ever had their mentality coined? Like that's not next level. That's a level that I haven't seen anyone else achieve in my lifetime. I haven't read in the history books that preceded my lifetime. Like, how many people have you, other than maybe Shanzu, that you hear people say, I wish I could think the way this person thinks? Like, this is you, and for that person to be an athlete, but not only an athlete, but a Renaissance man. I mean, this man went from playing basketball to winning an Emmy. Like, who does that? So for me, clear, easy choice, favorite athlete of all time, Kobe Bryant. And you, for those of you that follow the show, one guy that I'm sure you thought would be on my list, but isn't, he was a close runner-up, LeBron James. But the thing about LeBron is he's a great basketball player. He's made a lot of money doing it. But that's about it. Like, and I know that's enough, but I feel like the only thing I would talk to LeBron about is basketball. Everyone else on the list, it would be outside of just what they did or what they're capable of doing. So that's why LeBron didn't break that top 5 for me. But that is our top 5 all time of something, this week being people that we wish we could meet. And now the money-making segment of the show. As we begin to wrap up, we have you guys for a few more moments here. Let's go ahead and get into BK's best bets before we get into our can't miss weekly rants.
Yeah, so last week was another successful week. I know it was great for me. I hope it was for you, Zay, and everyone out there. First best bet. I mentioned earlier it was coming. The New York Liberty minus 275 to win the title. I have the Liberty to win the WNBA title.
Okay. Makes sense.
NFL best bets. There are 4 of them.
Okay.
I took the Niners -3 tonight against Seattle. Again, have no idea what's going on with that. You guys probably are watching the game. I have no idea. If you see me peeking, by the way, it's because I'm trying to check to see if the Yankees are screwing up or not. So henceforth, looking up. But the Steelers -2.5. I love the Steelers this week in a bounce back situation for them. The Buccaneers. So a week ago, this line was the Saints -3.5. Somehow the Bucs are now a 2.5 point favorite. We talked about it earlier. Why? No Derek Carr, no chance. I love the Bucs to go into New Orleans and take care of business. Less than a field goal. Shane Rattler starting as a rookie. Look, Carr lost 2 in a row. He's way further along than Rattler. And again, that's not me judging Rattler, but it's just a rookie with inexperience playing in a tough situation on short preparation. Give me the Bucs. So Niners -3, Steelers -2.5, Bucs -2.5. I do have a teaser, by the way, which is the Falcons money line over the Panthers. The easiest thing to do in football is bet against the Panthers. I just need Atlanta to win it all by 1 point even. just win at Carolina. That seems pretty reasonable. And the Washington Ravens over 45. I moved that one from 51 to 45. The Commanders are hitting the over every week. We both know the Commanders haven't played defense very well. Right. And we also know that Jaden Daniels has been lighting up the scoreboard. I don't think it's going to be the 41-38 game that the Bengals and the Ravens treated us to last week, but this is easily like a 31-20 game, 31-24, 35-24. It's going to go well over 45. Those are the NFL best bets. For college, I got 3 of them. One I know you'll love, Zay. The Ohio State University, -3. The Bucs over the Ducks. Why? The Buckeyes play terrific defense. And here's the thing. The Ducks have struggled in the red zone. Dylan Gabriel's thrown 3 picks the last few weeks in the red zone. He's going to turn the ball over at least twice against the Buckeyes. That's going to be the difference. Give me the Buckeyes with a big win over the Ducks. Number 2, situational play. The undefeated Pitt Panthers at home, -3 over the Cal Bears. Pitt's coming off of a bye. Cal has to go over 3 time zones to play at Pitt. Oh, and by the way, how do you think they're going to feel after blowing a 20-point lead against Miami at home? That's a big spot. Huge letdown, huge loss, tough loss at home. Now you got to go on the road, 3 time zones. I don't see it. Give me the Panthers -3. And the last one, Vandy. Vandy plus 13.5 on the road at Kentucky. This game, I don't think Vandy may win this game, but this game could easily be 27-17 Kentucky. They still don't cover 14. I like the Doors plus 13.5, plus 14 in some markets there. Also, some prop bets I want to get your thought about, Zay, real quick. You know I like these long shot plays. Again, I'm not putting a lot of money on this, but something to keep in mind on. There's a Bronx prop. The Yankees to win money line tonight. Cole, 5+ strikeouts. Judge, 2+ total bases. Soto, 2+ total bases. Stanton, 2+ total bases. If that hits, guess what you get?
What's that?
Plus 1,300.
Okay.
So do a little math for me, guys, at home. If you bet $10 and get plus 1,300, what do you make? So that was one that I dabbled in. Here's another one. You're a WNBA guy, Zay. You already said you're on the Liberty. If Sabrina Ionescu scores 20 or more points in every game, plus 1,700. So far in the postseason, she's only missed out on that once. So I just say that to say, plus 1,700. This is not a best bet. This is a prop for you to dabble in. It's what I call speculative betting. It's worth throwing a small chunk of change on because if you hit, it's a huge payday. Also, 2 more. If Judge or Soto hit a home run and or Jose Ramirez or Naylor hit a home run, that's plus 1,200. Okay. And the last one, a little dual threat prop. If Lamar Jackson goes 225-yard passing and 50+ rushing yards, and Jaden Daniels does the same, 225 in the air and 50 or more on the ground, that pays plus 1,200. So all of these seem like long shots, but again, you're putting $10 on those, it still pays off. I just wanted to throw those out there. My question to you, and we normally don't do this, what's your take on these prop bets? I gave you baseball, NFL, WNBA, Any of these strike your fancy?
Based on the odds, I like Sabrina plus 1,700. I spoke earlier about the Lynx having an awesome offense, not being quite as good on defense. Kind of leans into the hands of the person that's only missed 20 points once.
Mm-hmm.
So, of all of them, I like that one the best. I don't know that the Ravens haven't been throwing the ball very much. I don't know that Jackson is going to get 225. The rushing yards will be easy for both of them. And I think the passing yards will be easy for Daniels. But I don't know. Like I don't trust in the passing game for the Ravens that much. So that's where I'm at with that.
All right. Well,
Favorite segment of the week, say you the fans, can't miss weekly rants. You want to go first, or you want me to go first this week, BK?
the honor is yours, Zay.
All righty. So I would just like to say that as a card carrying member of the Patriots fan club, I cannot believe you allowed yourself to be peer pressured into putting a rookie quarterback in the game that we know the game is not ready for. What do I mean by that? We just lost our best lineman. We don't know what the heck we're doing at wide receiver. Defense is good. Running game is all over the place. We're fumbling the ball at least twice a game. And against Houston, of all teams, is when you decide you're going to put the rookie in. For what? What do we hope to gain here? What's the upside of getting your behind smacked by Houston? You're about to ruin this kid is what's going to happen. And it's just for the sake of public opinion. There's absolutely nothing for the Patriots to gain by playing this guy this year. You have everything to look. Your best case scenario is that he wins you an extra 2 games, and now you can't even trade the pick that other teams would have been willing to move heaven and earth for to get their quarterback. There's no upside here. And I don't understand it. It feels like it's a fanfare / panic move. Even if he goes out there and tears it up, you didn't gain anything. We're not winning the division. We're not winning the playoff game. What did you gain? Absolutely nothing. There's everything to lose here. There's draft capital to lose. There's Drake May's confidence to lose. There's Drake May's health to lose. There's him being gun shy next year because he didn't have an offensive line this year. And now the proverbial clock in his head is ticking a lot quicker than it should. There is nothing to gain here. And this is going to end up costing Gerard Mayo his job because guess what? I know you think that you're cool with Robert Kraft. You got 2 years to get it together or you out and you're behind, just so you know. That's my rant for this week, BK.
No, I agree. I agree. So it's not often as a Washington fan I'm going to quote something a Cowboys person would say, but here we are. Jimmy Johnson once famously said, "My stars need to play like stars," when he asked, what's the key to his teams winning in the playoffs? Simply, he needed Aikman, Smith, and Irvin to play like stars. And you know what? During their Super Bowl runs, they sure in the hell did. I need that same thing from Aaron Judge and Jose Ramirez. Again, don't know the outcome of today's games. Haven't been watching. I know the Guardians already played and the Yankees are playing right now. Haven't been able to really check, so I don't know. But here's what I'll say coming into today. Ramirez was 1 for 11 or 1 for 9. Judge was 1 for 11. If I go back Jose Ramirez, by the way, arguably probably the third or fourth best player in the American League. In some order, you got Judge, Soto, Ramirez, and Bobby Witt Jr. Those are the four. Okay? Jose Ramirez, in 35 playoff games, is hitting .233 with 2 home runs and 13 RBIs coming into today's Game 4. Aaron Judge, the captain, who and make no mistake, both of these guys are the biggest reasons why their teams are in the playoffs and in the position where they are. So I will never take away their regular season dominance and greatness. But especially in New York, you're paid all that money. The playoffs is a given. You got to win in the playoffs and be part of the reason why you're winning. Here's Judge. In 47 playoff games, career, 47. 203 batting average. 13 home runs, 25 RBIs. No, the home runs aren't bad. They're actually pretty good. But the 203 and the 25 RBIs is garbage. By the way, the team is under 500 with Aaron Judge in the playoffs, 23-24 coming into tonight's Game 4. For both of these teams to continue their postseason, they have both got to be better. And that's the truth. Your stars have to play like stars. Plain and simple.
And that wraps up the show for this week. Make sure you catch Wednesday's show, which will be the weekly weekend recap. The fantasy football show will be on Thursday. And then catch us again with the flagship Gospel Sports Truth podcast. Remember, tell the truth.
And nothing but the truth. Night, y'all.
See y'all later.